this is so funny. We made this joke earlier. We were talking about who was going to be doing what. If I had a nickel for every time during a year I had to talk about a face down matters commander deck, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that I have now done it twice.
Well, a happy haunted evening, listeners of the MTG Thoughtcast. It's your 2 favorite brothers, Joseph and John, back with another PreCon review. We are back, baby. It is PreCon season, my favorite time of the every 2 months to go through and review all of the products that Wizards about to put out. But yeah, I'm Joseph. This is the MTG Thoughtcast, and it's Duskmourn PreCon reviews. I'm here with my brother, John. How's it going, bro?
Ooh, spooky. Hello.
Spooky indeed. Are you ready to talk some Duskmourn today? It's the big one.
Oh, let's dive into it, and I promise there won't be a jump scare.
Oh, there actually will be a jump scare. Spoilers.
There will be a jump scare deck.
Yes, and there will be 3 other decks as well. That's the show. You're listening to it. Welcome.
But you know what the real scare? You know what the really scary thing is?
Is it people who aren't subscribed to the YouTube channel?
Who could do such a thing?
Go ahead and click the link down below. You know you want to. You want to see these faces and hear these voices way more often. I know you do. You can click subscribe, like, comment, all the things down below. There's a link below. If you're one of our cherished and valued audio-only listeners, you can hit a 5-star review for us. That helps us a ton, actually. While you're down there, if you want to jump into all the discussion about the Duskmourn decks, the Duskmourn preview season, etc., 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 you want to play some Commander games with us, there is a Discord link that you can follow that John and I are personally in every single day of our lives. Jumping in, talking about cards, playing games. It's a hoot. We love it there. So if you want to join that, it's totally free. We love having you. Love hanging out with everybody. Thank God we got all that out of the way.
Come join our House of Horror.
Yeah, that is our haunted house, truly. It is full of horrors beyond words, beyond reality. Eldritch horrors most of the time.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all of the upkeeping out of the way, and we can dive straight into what we're talking about today. Which, do you want to tell the fine people at home, John, what we're going through?
Hey, yeah. So as we are well aware with, every new booster release has to come with new precons, new commander decks to be talking about. And we're diving into all of those today. So we have ourselves 4 brand new pre-constructed decks, all themed around the setting of what Duskmourn House of Horror is, which... Any quick sidebars about that real fast? What do you think of this so far? We're still, at time of recording, still kind of reaching the tail end of the preview season. And most everything has pretty much been shown off into capacity about like what this set is about as far as its theming, what its set mechanics are, what kind of gameplay style we're looking to offer here. What do you think? How's it looking all so far?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the theming. I really like horror movies, especially like 80s horror movies. There's a movie called The Leprechaun that I watch every year, and this whole set just kind of, it feels like The Leprechaun. Yeah, it's a really cool set. I like what they're doing with it, especially from an art and design standpoint. I also like, you and I both kind of started around Theros, so Enchantment Matters sets is really like close to my heart. Makes me feel very special.
You know I'm an enchantment boy.
Oh, totally. So anytime they give us like an enchantress ability like Eerie in this set, which deals with rooms and enchantments, I'm very into it. I think it's nice having what seems like maybe a lower power set coming off the heels of Bloomburrow, which was absolutely insane and stacked. So it feels good. It's just like a fun little spooky set to get us into spooky season.
Ooh. Yeah, so we're about it. So, do you want to take one of the first decks, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll take the first one here. Do you want to talk about some miracles, perhaps? Maybe some piercing the veil?
Oh, yeah. This was certainly the one you were most excited seeing this deck theme come up here. Yeah. I know this is a strategy to sort of like, especially play off the top, cheat your mana cost down on things. This one looked so cool.
This is right up my alley. I am a big fan of the Legacy deck Miracles that has like Jace the Mind Sculptor and Terminus and Entreat the Angels and like all of these play Miracles cards. So for them to actually just print a Miracles deck is sweet. It also is a sub theme in my Tokasha Dig Site Mentor deck. So anytime they're going to give me some Miracles, I'm here for it. So let's just dive straight into the deck. It's helmed by Aminatou, the Veil Piercer, which is 1 white, blue, and a black. That's Esper. For a legendary human wizard, it's a 2/4 that says at the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 2, which is look at the top 2 cards of your library and decide whether you want to keep them on top or put them in your graveyard. And then each enchantment card in your hand has Miracle. Its Miracle cost is equal to its mana cost reduced by 4. So the way that Miracle cards work is if it's the first card that you've drawn that turn, you can just play it for its Miracle cost, which on the printed Miracle cards is cheaper than mana cost. And then obviously with Aminatou in play, all of your enchantments that you would draw, if it's the first card you've drawn that turn, it's reduced by 4 generic mana.
Yep. So you're still required to do any colored pips, but you could essentially, in some instances, get enchantments down to pretty much just the colored pips.
Totally. So that's kind of what we're trying to do in this deck, it seems. It's playing both enchantment creatures and enchantments that have relatively high mana value so that you can cheat them, quote unquote, cheat them into play by drawing them first and then playing them. Miracle's very strange. I'm excited to see people's reactions to Miracle and playing it first. One of the things that I wanted to note before we dive into it is how to play Miracle. The first thing that you need to get really good at is anytime you go to draw a card first in your turn, it's also any turn. So Miracle breaks the time restrictions. So enchantments,
just like Madness.
Yeah, enchantments you can play at flash speed if you Miracle them. That's a huge part of how this deck works, is flashing enchantments in via Miracle. So the way I would recommend doing it is when you're going to draw your first card each turn, regardless of whether you know what it is or not, set your current hand aside and then draw that card. It should be the only card in your hand. If it has Miracle, you're required to immediately reveal it as Miracle, and then you decide whether or not you want to play it. I guess you don't. Do you have to reveal the Miracle cards as you draw them if you're not going to Miracle them?
On Aminatou anyway, it just says that you can cast it, so you technically don't even need to reveal it. It's just it's the first one you've drawn, you can cast it.
Oh yeah, it's a main ability.
It is.
So let's say you draw Terminus, which is in the deck. You haven't played any top deck manipulation, you've just drawn it off the top. So you've set your hand aside, you've drawn this card as your first card this turn, you then immediately reveal it. It's a 6 mana, put all creatures on the bottom of their owner's libraries with a Miracle of single white pip. This is an unbelievable card. So you then just get to pay a single white and cast the spell. It's a really neat ability. They haven't done it in forever. I think when was the last time they did Miracle, John?
There has
outside of the 40k precon.
Oh, outside of the 40k precon, there was a black Miracle card in a precon some number of years ago. It was like it did something with returning creatures from graveyard to battlefield. I think it was something like that. It was like a black parallel to Entreat the Angels or something like that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so this is an ability that they don't print very often. So for them to be giving some love to Miracle while also giving some love to an Esper enchantments deck, this is really, really sweet. So Aminatou is at the helm of the deck. I would recommend keeping that at the helm of the deck. However, there is an alt commander that you have as well. It is the Master of Keys, which is X, white, blue, and a black for a legendary enchantment creature, Horror. It's a 3/3 with flying. It enters and you put X +1/+1 counters on it, and you mill twice X cards. So whatever you pay for X into its mana value, that becomes the X's there. And then each enchantment card in your graveyard has Escape. The Escape cost is equal to the card's mana cost plus exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. Pretty straightforward. It's recurring enchantments from your graveyard while also fueling the absolute heck out of your graveyard. Master of Keys is very sick. There's already been some discussion on some high power forums on how ridiculous this card is. I'm going to go ahead and say for the precon, just leave it in the 99. Let's go ahead and not put that in the command zone yet. It's really good if you build around it, but it's also just very good in this deck. Because it's an enchantment creature, it will be reduced by 4 with Aminatou.
which can be applied into the X cost, really.
Exactly.
So if you end up miracling the Master of Keys, you can have that X be a guaranteed 4 at no additional cost.
Yeah, it's one of the cleanest like alt commanders that works really well in the 99. There's kind of a problem sometimes, and we'll get into that a little bit later as well, with alt commanders that they almost are printing just so that you take them out of the deck and build another deck with it. But the Master of Keys works really, really well in this deck. Any type of recursion on a creature like this is just bonkers. So love to have the Master of Keys around.
That definitely seems to be the case here, with the fact that like something that we haven't actually even brought up a couple times now from the last couple precons we've done, but the last couple of precons, Face Commander has now been in borderless. This is now the first precon where the alternate commander also comes in borderless.
Yeah, just very beautiful. Like I said in the intro, like the art for this set is unbelievable. They went absolutely ham on it. So there is a total of 10 new cards in the precons, including the commander and the alt commander. So a couple of really cool new cards in this set. Ancient Cellar Spawn is the first one that I want to talk about. It's 1 black and a black for an enchantment creature that's a horror. It's a 3/3, and it says each spell you cast, it's a demon, horror, or nightmare. It costs 1 less. And then just a total side piece of text that says, whenever you cast a spell, if the amount of mana spent to cast it was less than its mana value, target opponent loses life equal to the difference. Huh? You just play this with like Bolus's Citadel, and then you just kill the table by playing your deck. Or like what this is going to do with Aminatou is every time you miracle an enchantment into play, if you've reduced its cost by 4, you get to just dome somebody for 4. Like, I've never seen something that so blatantly is rewarding you for cheating. It's so good. Let alone the fact that it gives a cost reduction to demons, horrors, and nightmares, which is a sub-theme of this deck.
Yeah, because I'm noticing in the deck you have a card in here called Demon of Fate's Design that lets you cast an enchantment with life once per turn instead of its casting cost. So instantly right there with this friend, you get any enchantment down, miracle or not, with its life, and then the Cellar Spawn will dome whoever equal to the full scale mana value of the thing that you paid life for.
Yep, it's crazy. Couple of other cards to talk about. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, John, each of these decks has a room in it.
At least one, yes.
Yeah.
Does this one maybe have a few more?
Ones.
I was going to say, yeah, because it's the enchantments theme.
Yes. So let's talk real quick about what rooms are. It's a new enchantment type. You'll notice it's a split card. So I'm specifically right now talking about Cramped Vents and Access Maze. So you basically, from your hand, you get to cast either side of those. It'll come in and unlock itself, which is going to trigger things.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it will. But that's technically the way it works, is it comes in and then unlocks whichever side you paid for. You get the ability of when you unlock this door on the enchantments, which functionally is when this card comes into play, do the thing. And then unlocking the other side, you just pay the mana cost of whatever the other side that you didn't cast was. So you'll play it, it'll enter with one side of it unlocked, and then you can pay to unlock the other side. It's a really cool design space. I am completely head over heels for rooms. Anything that has modality to it has some play. We talk about this all the time here on the podcast. Anytime that you can add kind of a branching path of what you can do into your deck, you're just going to win more games because of it. So rooms is a cool way to do that while also being an enchantment.
Yeah, so unlike sagas that just do like a tick of things in a row and you have no control over them,
yes.
You do one side of a room and then you save the other half for when it's relevant.
Yep, it's very cool. So the way that Cramped Vents and Access Maze works, let's talk about Cramped Vents side is 4 mana. When you unlock this door, this room deals 6 damage to target creature an opponent controls, and you gain life equal to the excess damage dealt this way. So it's targeted removal on one side. The other side of it is Access Maze, which is 5 black and a black. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a spell from your hand by paying life equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost.
So just like that demon.
Yeah, totally. Which this is a sub-theme in this deck, is just how many enchantments can we cheat out really quickly. Notably, with Aminatou, the way that rooms are going to work is you get to choose which side you're going to cast. So, like, with Aminatou down, if you miracle this, you could say, oh, I'm gonna cast the access maze half of this reduced by 4. So this becomes 1 black and a black to have, oh, I can cast anything else from my hand for just life equal to its mana value once during each of your turns. So I love this. And then at any other point, you can just pay 4 to just kill something on the board. This is ridiculous. A very cool card. So that's rooms. So that's the only time I'll explain how that goes, and we'll kind of keep rolling through them. Last new card I want to talk about in this deck. Well, actually, there's 2 more. I'll talk about 2 more. There's a new miracle card. There's a new black miracle card in this. It's called Metamorphosis Fanatic. So it's 4 black and a black normally for a 4/4 human cleric with lifelink. When it enters, you return up to 1 target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield with a lifelink counter on it. Pure upside. And then it has Miracle of 1 and a black. So if it's the first card that you've drawn on any turn, you just get to play it for 1 and a black. You get a 4/4 with lifelink, and anything else out of your graveyard also with a lifelink counter.
I did definitely read that at first and said it came back with a finality counter.
I know. Everybody thought it said finality, but no, it's lifelink counter. It's a little bonkers.
Did you die? Sadly, yes, but I got better.
100%. Yeah, so you can use these things to recur themselves, or not recur themselves, but you can recur a creature, and then if it dies, you can find a way to get that back to your hand, play it again, it comes back. It's great. Notably does not include a finality counter on it, which would exile it. We'll get to finality counters later in the episode. Last new card for this deck is Fear of Sleep Paralysis, which is part of
this thing is so cool.
It's so neat. So the Fear of cycle is from the main set of Duskmourn, but they've included at least this one in here. And
there are others.
They're just enchantment creatures. They're nightmares. It's a neat little thing. So this is 6 mana for a 6/6 with flying, and it has the ability Eerie, which is whenever an another enchantment enters, or whenever you fully unlock a room. So whenever you unlock the last room or the last door in a room, it triggers to tap up to 1 target creature and put a stun counter on it. Which stun counters typically prevent, if a creature would be untapped, it would remove the stun counter instead. So it keeps things tapped down for a little longer. But it has a line of text on it that says, stun counters can't be removed from permanents your opponent's control. So you play this, immediately tap something down, put a stun counter on it. It then never untaps as long as this thing stays on the battlefield. And then as you just play more enchantments or unlock doors in your rooms, this is what makes rooms really good with Eerie, is you actually get 2 Eerie triggers off of them. You get 1 when you play it, and you get 1 when you unlock the next room. Mm-hmm. You just put more tap and put stun counters on stuff and just permanently keep them locked down. So if you have a way to protect this thing, which there is a few of in this deck, you just play it, keep playing your enchantments, and you're just going to look up and the entire board is going to be permanently locked down.
Oh yeah. I'm been playing the game for a long time. I have a very soft spot for cards like Dungeon Geists.
Dude, this is Dungeon Geists on crack.
It is absolutely cracked.
It actually is Dungeon Geists when it comes in. Like it is 6 mana instead of 4. But then the upside of being able to continually Dungeon Geist off of each of your enchantments is ridiculous. Very, very cool. A couple of notable reprints in this deck as well. Spoiler alert, not many. The reprint value for this deck is completely abysmal. It's a very bad time, just to let you guys know.
That's a real bummer.
Yeah, currently sitting without the cost of new cards at $86, according to my Moxfield link, which is rough. There are 4 cards that are above $5 in this deck. Most notably, Ink Shield is reprinted here. Love to see an Ink Shield. It's currently a $10 card at the time of recording.
Wow, that Secret Lair one must have really tanked the price.
It really did. Yeah. Having a having a print to demand version of Ink Shield that you can just buy really tanked it. But it still is sitting at $10 even after all of that. There's an extravagant replication in this deck, which I had never seen before, so I'll just read it off. It's 4 blue and a blue for an enchantment. It says, at the beginning of your upkeep, you make a token that's a copy of another non-land permanent you control. Super cool. That's a $9 card at the time of recording.
Neat. I've never seen that card either.
Yeah, it's super cool. I don't know how I've never seen it. You know why? It's from New Capenna Capaner. It's from the Have you never seen this card before, but it's really cool? Definitely with new Commander Commander. Last two reprints that are at $5 and $6 respectively is Ondu Spirit Dancer and a Hall of Heliod's Generosity, which is a nice time. Love having all of those, but man, the rest of the deck has some sucky value in it. Trying to think.
How do we fix that?
Yeah, exactly. Let's go ahead and fix some of that. So a couple of cards that I think you should put into this, starting into the upgrade guide portion of this. First and foremost, I came across this and I feel like a very clever boy for thinking about this. This deck requires a Shadow of the Second Sun. Do you know what this card is, John?
Oh yes, it's that new aura from Modern Horizons 3.
Yes, I'll just read it off. It's 4 blue and a blue for an aura that enchants a player. At the beginning of Enchanted Player's post-combat main phase, there is an additional beginning phase after this phase, and that is untap, upkeep, draw. So what's really cool with Aminatou, this is also a 6-mana enchantment, which is exactly where Aminatou wants it, because it's 4 generic mana. So she can reduce this down to blue-blue if you draw it first in your turn. And Aminatou effectively has an upkeep and a draw trigger, and a draw step trigger. Except I'm realizing now, it's still really good to play. It doesn't do the miracle thing that I had hoped that it was going to.
Good try.
Correcting myself on this. But it still is like Wilderness Reclamation is played in a ton of decks, and this is functionally a blue Wilderness Reclamation that also draws you a card.
Yeah, even if it doesn't do the cool miracle thing that you want to do during your turn, this sets you up to have your mana open for the off turn.
Exactly. It still is very good.
Miracle does work that way.
I thought it was exactly one step better than it was when I put it into the deck, but I still stand by it because she still has an upkeep trigger. So you're going to have your upkeep Surveil 2 twice a turn, which is super good. That helps set up for things like another ad, like Opt and Consider. I think both should be in this deck. Opt is a single mana instant scry 1 draw a card, and Consider is a single mana instant to surveil 1 and draw a card. So what these will do, you always want to have access to draw a card on somebody else's turn so that you can play your miracles off turn. There's a handful of ways to do that in this deck already. Brainstorm being the most important one of them, because you draw 3 and then put 2 back on top. So any of your cards, you can trigger Miracle off the top of your deck and then set up your next Miracle spell all with one spell. So Brainstorm is the best one. It's already in here. There's also a Brainstone in this deck, which is not my favorite card. If you can afford to swap that out for a Scroll Rack, you definitely should, but I'm not going to recommend putting a $25 card into your Precon. So there's a few ways to do it, but I want to see more of that. So that's why I'm putting an Opt and a Consider into this deck. So with the Shadow of the Second Sun, like you said, John, it'll untap all of your lands so that you can immediately on somebody's next turn and probably the turn after it be able to do some miracle stuff and get these huge enchantments into play. Two more cards that I wanted to add into here. So 5 total that I'm going to be adding. There is a room from the main set that's not included in this that is Central Elevator. So this is also a new card. Central Elevator and Promising Stairs. Again, it's an enchantment. It's a room. So Central Elevator is 4 mana. It's 3 and a blue. For when you unlock this door, search your library for a room card that doesn't have the same name as a room you control. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So it tutors for a room. And then Promising Stairs is 2 and a blue. At the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 1. You win the game if there are 8 or more different names among unlocked doors of rooms you control. So if you have 4 rooms, which this brings you up to 3, I guess? Yeah, put another room in here, whichever one you want. So if you have 4 rooms in play, all the doors are unlocked, you win the game on your upkeep. But even then, just having 3 mana at the beginning of your upkeep surveil 1 is worth it in a miracle deck, because then that sets you up for your draw. Along those lines, the last card I want to add is Search for Escanta, which is a 2 mana enchantment. It's a legendary enchantment, actually, that has since been errated to, at the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 1. Then if you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard, you get to transform it into Escanta, the Sunken Ruin, which taps out of blue. It's a legendary land. or you can just pay 3 and look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land from among them, put it into your hand, and put the rest in the bottom of your library. So it turns into a draw spell. You have so many non-creature, non-lands in this deck. There is, let me see my number here. There's only 12 creatures in the deck currently. There's also like 10 enchantments. There's 8 instants. There's 8 sorceries. Like this is a control deck. This is a draw go control deck where your plan is going to be surveil 2 with Aminatu, draw your first card. It's a miracle card, surprise, or it's an enchantment. That's the only things you have to care about. Play it down, pass turn, and then you're going to be sitting there with your Terminus, with your Time Wipe, like being able to just kind of sit there. Couple other win cons that are in the deck that I think are really neat. There's a Shark Typhoon in this deck. This is probably one of the best cards in the deck because it will trigger off of the total mana value, even if it's reduced by Miracle, to just make sharks. This is the first time that Arvinox the Mind Flail has been reprinted into a set that isn't. Am I correct on that, John?
Yeah, you're correct. Yes.
Yeah. Because they did it as the Stranger Things Secret Lair. And then they printed
as the Mind Flayer,
yes.
I think.
And then in Universe, they printed it as a Secret Lair. And now this is the first time it's included in something else. So Arvinox is really, really sick. And then, Entreat the Angels is an unbelievable win con in this deck. Anything that you get to Miracle and just flip into a ton of Angels is bonkers. Yeah. Oh, last thing to note on this deck, and then I'm done talking about it. I think it's a very cool deck. I'm really into it. They included a Read the Bones instead of a Dire Sight in this deck. Are you kidding me? We want to be surveilling. Surveil is a theme in this deck, and they included Read the Bones when they just printed Dire Sight, which is just Read the Bones, except it says Surveil 2 instead of Scry 2. What's going on, Wizards?
Must not have been ready for print yet.
Yeah, it must not have been. That might have been like a late ad into Bloomborough. But I think overall, this is not my favorite precon that I've ever seen them put out. There's little things about the construction of it that I find really annoying. There's not a ton of ramp. Obviously, they're planning on you playing Aminatu and that kind of being your ramp for the deck. There's like 6 or 7 other pieces. It's really not. It's kind of your standard, like you've got your Soul Ring, your Signet, all 4 Signets that you can play in the deck. But I would, with the average CMC of this deck being so high because of all of the enchantments, there's very little protection in the deck for Aminatu. So they kind of have worked you into this corner of needing to play Aminatu to be able to get your big enchantments out, but then not really including much protection for her, which you wouldn't need to do if you included ramp as well. Because if you just play her and she becomes the target, then like, cool, they've wasted all of their removal on killing Aminatu while you've been ramping to be able to play your big enchantments, just hard casting them. So I'm not a huge fan of some of the ratio or the stats on this deck. But I think if it pops off, it's going to be really cool. Overall, I think it's fun. I probably would give it a 6 out of 10. Just off the dome.
Six enchantments out of 10.
6 enchantments out of 10, exactly. So that's the Miracle Precon. Do you have the name handy of what the title of the deck is?
It's just called Miracle Worker, I believe.
Miracle Worker. That's the Miracle Worker Precon. Thanks for being here. That's me. That's the first one. John, do you want to take us away talking about perhaps some spooky jump scares?
Did I get you?
You got me.
Okay, good. It's a jump scare time. Surprise! It's a Simic deck.
Yeah, honestly, the biggest jump scare is that they printed another Simic deck.
Oh, boy. So, we have ourselves here, and this is so funny. You know, we made this joke earlier. We were talking about who was going to be doing what. If I had a nickel for every time during a year I had to talk about a face down matters commander deck, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that I have now done it twice. So we've got the jump scare Simic colored commander deck helmed by Zimone Mystery Unraveler. 2 green and a blue. Legendary human wizard is a 3/3. Landfall. When a land you control enters, manifest dread. If this is the first time this ability has resolved this turn, otherwise, you may turn a permanent you control face up. Manifest Dread is a new twist on the manifest keyword that has been around since Fate Reforged. Manifesting normally takes a card from some zone of some kind and puts it down as a 2/2, and that creature can turn face up if it can turn face up if it is a creature for its mana cost, or if it naturally has some other kind of flippable ability on the bottom of it. Manifesting Dread is simply an upgraded version of that, whereas you get to go 2 cards off of the top of your library, choose one to go face down as a 2/2 creature, and the other goes to your graveyard. But then it still retains the ability of it can be turned face up anytime for its mana cost if it is a creature card. So Zimone here basically reads in a sense that we are looking to get multiple instances of land dropping during a turn, or just trying to play a bunch of lands just in general. You can kind of do this in kind of a 2 different really like directions. You can either do single instances of landfall at a go, build up a big board of manifest creatures, and then just flip them up on your own naturally, or turns at a go where you're doing multiple lands in one turn and you are manifest dreading and flipping in the same turn, but just like in smaller quantities. So there's a real sense of like you can kind of customize your playstyle to whatever fits your needs better.
Very sick.
And I think it's really neat, right? It's we have seen face down commanders before, but this one rewarding you for giving you these face down creatures for simply doing a game action that is almost the standard when it comes to decks, right? Like, you can think of any deck strategy you can possibly think of. Every single one of them, to an extent, plays lands. That's just an inherent nature of the game. That's really cool.
I'm ready for the comments. They're like, actually, manaless dredge.
You joke, but I think we've got enough modal double face cards now that somebody could do oops all spells in Commander. But
yeah. You do this
anyways, I do this in Brawl. Yeah. Anyways, we do have an alternate commander out of this deck as well. Cayenne. I want to say Cayenne. Yeah.
Cayenne.
Kia. Let's go with Kia because it's a Kia Soul. Wow.
This is a Kia Soul. You're right, John. Okay, you got me. You win.
All right. Kian, Corrupted Memory. 2 green and a blue. Also a 4-mana commander, very interestingly. Legendary creature Illusion. It's a 2/2. Wait, it's an illusion? It's not a spirit? Oh, I just read that now. I thought that was a spirit. No. Oh, well. I guess not. Anyway, it's an illusion. As long as its power is even, you can cast non-creature spells as though they had flash. As long as its power is odd, you can cast creature spells as though they had flash. And then whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Kian. So what this wants you to be doing here is that you'll be alternating back and forth naturally just during your turns as you go to draw a card for the turn. Its power will continue to just go up as you draw cards, and it'll flip-flop back and forth on which types of spells that you can cast with flash during the turn. Or during off turns, I guess I should say. And obviously that can be manipulated off turn as well because you have the stuff that gives you flash. So like if she's able to give you non-creatures off turn, you cast a non-creature spell with flash that then changes her power. Now you can then surprise somebody and be like, oh, you thought I could only do non-creatures that turn? I'll boost her power. Now my creatures have flash. Now here comes a blocker. Like, it's neat.
Yeah, it's really cool, actually.
I think there's just too much setup, really, to make this card any good. And honestly, I'm not a fan of it, really, because it's too much variability to reliably count on when you can cast what. But it's certainly cool and will keep people on their toes as to like, oh, what could they be casting when, you know?
Right.
So not my favorite, but it's very neat all the same. And I'm not going to go over all of them as well, but apart from Zimone and Kia, you have 4 other reprints of legendary creatures out of this deck that can be your commanders as well. So one of which of those actually being AC, Tyrant of Gyre Straits, that actually would be a really decent one out of the box as well.
It's an unbelievable landfall commander.
Yeah, you can play an additional land on each of your turns, and when a land enters, draw a card. Actually, is it errata to say landfall? Does it have landfall on it now?
Yes, it has landfall on it now.
Oh, it's landfall? Okay, sick. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's a very cool one to play out of the box as well. So we have the rest of their deck here is the biggest goal that this thing is trying to do is you get Zimone down early, then do some lands, and you get to put mystery whatevers. The really cool thing with Zimone, actually, as a matter of fact, is it's one of the few cards that allows you to manifest dread, or just manifesting in general. You could throw almost anything face down underneath, and Zimone just simply says that if you can get that second landfall trigger, whatever it is, you can turn it face up. And that's normally a thing you can't do. Well, I was getting my point. That's normally a thing you can't do with things like artifacts or enchantments or lands, even. Like, manifested non-creature things without help normally can't get themselves flipped up, but Zimone can. So this is a very fun idea that you're looking to do here, is try to just get multiple lands during the turn, and you get to surprise your opponents with, you know, it could be anything under there. The joke of, like, it could be anything, even a boat. You know, flip a vehicle, flip an enchantment, flip an artifact, you know, or a big dumb idiot creature, which this deck is filled with a ton of. Like one of the new cards I'll talk about here, Curator Beastie. I love the design what the beasties are in this set. They're just the amalgamated out animals that got affected by the house. They're just so afraid of themselves that all of them have the fun, like, masks over their face.
I know, they're so precious.
It's great. It's such a great design for, like, ooh, the creepy monsters in the lurk, but they're the kind monsters, you know?
Yeah, it's the not fantastic beasts, where the wild things are. It's like that vibe.
It's very neat. So this one's really, really cool as well. It's very Titan-like. 4 and double green for a creature beast. It's a 6/6 with reach. Colorless creatures you control enter with 2 additional +1/+1 counters on them. And whenever Curator Beastie enters or attacks, manifest dread.
Yeah.
So this friend by itself is going
to a 4/4 when it attacks.
Yeah, that's why I said it's reminiscent of Grave Titan, kind of, in a sense, where you're just going to be, you're going to be making bodies as soon as this thing comes into play or it starts swinging. And this is a fantastic target to have down early for your manifesting dreading. You can get this down and flipped early enough. Now, every other instance of manifest dread that you do, the manifests at least come in with 2 extra counters, and counters remain on permanents as they are turned flipped up.
Yes, because they never leave the battlefield. It's just
exactly. This thing is very, very cool. On the subject of getting in these manifest dread cards, and a way that's going to be able to keep your hands filled for the remainder of the game, is a fun enchantment called They Came from the Pipes.
Dope.
4 and a blue for an enchantment. When They Came from the Pipes enters, manifest dread twice. And whenever a face-down creature you control enters, draw a card. Just anytime.
5 mana, make 2/2s, make 2 2/2s and draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
It also, you get to look at the top 4 cards of your library because of manifest dread, put 2 of those into play, and then immediately draw 2 cards.
Yeah, exactly. Because
it says ridiculous.
Yeah, because it says you do the manifest dread twice, you could set up a very interesting thing of, like, oh, you do your first, basically looking at the top 2. If you end up wanting both of them, I guess the other one goes to your graveyard. Never mind. I was thinking it was Surveil for some reason. But that's still, you get to go, of your top 4 cards, 2 of them go straight down into play as 2/2s that can, again, either naturally be flipped if they're creatures, or you've got, like, Zimone or some of the other effects that come in this deck that allow you to flip them up either at a discount or just instantaneously.
Yes.
And a way to be able to flip up creatures more effectively if, like, say, Zimone is kind of off the table to help you accelerate mana faster is my last new card I want to talk about, Shriekwood Devourer. 5 and double green for a 7/5 tree folk with trample. Whenever you attack with 1 or more creatures, untap up to X lands, where X is the greatest power among those creatures. Yeah, so it's it's obviously not, like, sort of the green one that untaps your lands, Feast and Famine. It's obviously not Feast and Famine, but
it kind of plays a pretty close role.
It's pretty darn close, yeah. Like, all you even really need is just to go swinging with something with, say, like, 4 or 5 power, give or take. This guy doesn't even need to attack. This is one of these kinds of cards that just gives you...
I love that.
Yeah, it just gives you a static attack trigger that no matter who ends up going into combat, this just happens. And these kind of effects like these, we've talked about this actually before. Last time we've talked about a face down deck, the Disguises deck from Murders of Karlov Manor. Anything that allows you to have access to your mana during the off turns, that if in a pinch that's what you need to do to flip your creatures face up, those are going to be essentially crucial to how the deck functions, right? Because obviously you can't rely all the time on having multiple land drops or even Zimone down at a time. So you need multiple ways to be able to get these Manifest Dread or these morphs or whatever from face down to face up. So things like Shriekwood Devourer here that allow you to get access to more mana is going to be a way that you can stay stable, even in dire circumstances.
Yeah, seems very dope. Especially if you can like get this down, then flip it with Zimone's ability, and then all of a sudden you're just untapping all of your lands. You have this 7/5. This is a really cool deck.
Yeah. One of the best Manifest Dread targets you're definitely going to hit. Go ahead and start talking about the reprints here. You are going to want to hit Ashaya, Soul of the Wild, as fast as you possibly can.
Yeah,
Ashaya,
best card of the deck for sure.
Yeah, Ashaya is the best card in the deck here. Power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control, and non-token creatures you control are forests in addition to other types. What that means with manifest creatures is they come in as lands, which means a single trigger off of Zimone, like if you play a land just naturally, the first time will manifest Dread, and then the manifest creature will trigger her second thing. So a land just gets you an instant creature. It's so ridiculous. I can't believe that's in here. Worldspine Worm is also just in this deck. That's so cool.
I haven't seen him in so long.
It's his first reprint since Return to Ravnica.
Oh, I've missed him.
Oh. 11 mana, 15/15 with trample that when it dies, you make 3/5/5 green worm tokens. Whoops. I'll
Listen, Al-Gaib.
I'll instant speed, get an extra land drop into play. Whoops, here's a 15/15.
Here's Shaialud.
Yeah.
For all my Dune fans out there.
Other notable really good stuff in here. Scoot Swarm has retained being $7, even though it was just in Modern Horizons PreCon.
It's insane, dude.
Yeah, Scoot Swarm is ridiculous in here. Hydra Omnivore is also another fantastic surprise attacker. 8/8 that when it deals damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. So you just have to send it at one person and everyone gets domed equal to that damage. Very cool. And then a surprising one, Overwhelming Stampede was also quite expensive as well. 3 and double green sorcery. Until end of turn, creatures you control gain trample and +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control.
A great one to have. I love that they're reprinting alternatives to Craterhoof instead of just giving us a Craterhoof, because I would like for less people to play Craterhoof and more people to play Overwhelming Stampede.
Yeah, and these are also just great to have in here just in general, because even though that Zimone really encourages you wanting to do multiple landfall during a turn, that's not always going to be a guarantee state, and you can't just win off of 2/2s. So that's why all these extra effects in here that say like, oh, you can give your creatures surprise attacking +6/+6 off of Overwhelming Stampede, or the means to flip other creatures over naturally to have them be bigger than they appear. Things like that. This is how, if you got to be doing this face down strategy, which again, I'm still not a huge fan of, but this deck, I think so far of everything that we've ever seen before of face down precons, this one I think has definitely been the most interesting so far.
Yeah, it's cool that it's not necessarily face down matters, but it's like using face down as an engine to get your landfall going. Hey, link somewhere over here. I did a precon mashup of this deck and the AC precon. We'll link that over here. But in my findings, something like Deathmist Raptor being in the deck was like, oh, we're just using face down as an engine to get card advantage and get things rolling. We're like Deathmist Raptor, like whenever a permanent is turned face up under your control, you just get to Eternal Witness. So you have stuff like that as your like face down matters cards, so that as Simone is stacking up these landfall triggers, you're just getting a ton of extra value from what she's trying to do while you're flipping into these gigantic things.
Exactly.
What kind of gigantic things are we adding, John?
Nothing gigantic immediately. There is one important, very crucial upgrade from Duskmourn itself that it was not here in this deck. It came from Duskmourn. It should have been in here. You need to add the uncommon from Duskmourn, Threats Around Every Corner. This will just absolutely make your deck hum. It is a 3 and a green for an enchantment. When it enters, you manifest Dread, and whenever a face-down permanent you control enters, search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle.
Oh!
Yeah, so this is like a Shia 2, that every manifest gets you another land, and if you've got Simone down already, this now means your land gets you a manifest that gets you another land that gets you your second trigger.
Totally. Hey, real quick, are you rocking with 38 lands like is printed in the pre-con, or are you up in that number?
You can certainly add more lands if you think that kind of thing is necessary. Like I'd say it'd be reasonable to jump this up to like 40 if you're looking to do, like especially if you're playing these kinds of effects like this upgrade that I just mentioned here, the things that fetch you out more basics, you don't want to run out. So
yeah.
It definitely wouldn't be a bad idea to throw maybe 2 or 3 more basic lands in here, or more lands that can recur themselves out of the graveyard, or things that allow you to get things out of the graveyard, like Ramanop Excavator. I was actually going to suggest as a reprint, or as something to throw into
king.
Here.
He can't be stopped.
Yeah, you set me up, so I have to take all the credit there. But yeah, add cards like Ramanop Excavator. I mean, I guess if you have access to Crucible of Worlds, go for it. But Ramanop Excavator style of cards that fit within these colors here. All you need is not even necessarily super expensive fetch lands, right? Grab yourself some of the cheaper ones that they've been reprinting lately, like those ones from New Capenna, or the recently reprinted Fabled Passage, or some of the other, even the slower fetches or things like that. Things that you can get back out of your graveyard that allow you during a single turn to do multiple instances of landfall. That's going to make the deck hum a good bit better, because one of the biggest problems immediately out of this deck is that it has not a great package that allows you to get 2 landfall triggers per turn. So an upgrade path is definitely going to be to boost that availability up as you can do it.
It's so weird that one of the only ramp pieces that they included like that is Explosive Vegetation, which is such a power crept card. Like, there's Explosive Vegetation is the worst version of that 4 mana go grab 2 lands and put them into play now. There's a million other, like, you could put there's a ton of things you could replace. I don't want to steal your spotlight here.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, like if you got to keep a ramp spell at that thing here, didn't we just in our debate episode, did we not talk about Skyshroud Claim?
Yeah, grabs 2 forests and put them into play, not tapped.
Or replace Explosive Vegetation with Invasion of Zendikar, which also does Explosive Vegetation. And then if you defeat the battle, the elemental creature that comes in on the backside is a land as well. Mm-hmm. So defeating that and playing a land would also be your second landfall trigger during the turn. So there's options that you could replace that with as well. I was also going to suggest things like Harrow that also go and get 2 lands off of sacrificing one.
At instant speed as well.
At instant speed, exactly.
So that means you could manifest and flip it up on somebody else's turn.
2 other face down specific cards that I wanted to talk about, in case, like, if you want to focus this deck a little bit more on having those cards coming down into play. The instant from the Assassin's Creed set, Become Anonymous.
Yeah, dude.
2 in double blue, exile target non-token creature you own and the top 2 cards of your library in a face-down pile. Shuffle that pile, then cloak those cards. They enter the battlefield tapped.
Cloak is their 2/2s with Ward 2, right?
Yeah, yep.
Come on,
so they
guys. Come on, Watsy.
They gain the ward too, and this will just put more face down permanents down into play for you faster than you lose, because we've only just really been talking about doing landfall at the 2 instances as well. If you can continue to do landfall past 2, if you have more face down permanents than just like 1 at a go, then the more landfall that you can do past your 2, the more of those permanents that you can flip face up during a single turn.
So sick.
Yeah, so that's a really cool one as well. Experiment 12 was also a very cool one from the Murders at Call of Manor PreCon, because that one cared about face down cards as well. 4 mana elf lizard warrior 4/4 with trample, that when it or another creature you control is turned face up, put 1/1 counters on that creature equal to its power, and then it naturally has disguise for 4 and a green.
You just flip over that world spine worm and have a 30/30.
Whoops.
Every time that we talk about Experiment 12, I just imagine that you've stapled 12 Experiment 1s together. Like, voila, Experiment 12.
Hey, I mean, it is the horror set after all. We needed some representation for the human centipede.
Experiment 1. You took the joke out of my mouth, John. Oh.
You gotta be quicker than that,
What are you
boy.
cutting from the deck? What are you cutting?
What are we cutting here? Let's see here. Site. Oh, I'm gonna mess this up. Citannual Hierophants? Citannual? I want to say Citannual. 3 and a green for a 3/2 human druid that gives creatures you control tap add green.
Oh, like, yeah, it seems awful.
That's certainly useful, but you're doing land ramp. Like, you don't need your creatures producing you mana. You need to be getting mana off of land.
Sentinel Hierophants.
Oh, thank you. I mean, you know I don't know words.
I'm here. Sentinel Hierophants.
John's golden standard is if it's more than 3 syllables, I don't know how to pronounce it.
He's done.
I'm done. You talked about this actually when you did the mashup deck tech. Kefnet the Mindful, I think, just feels kind of strange
in here, dude.
Yeah, you're not going to have lots of cards in your hand because you are looking to be playing as many of your lands as you possibly can. So unless you've got those other card effects down that are drawing you cards as creatures are connecting or creatures are entering, you're never, even if you flip this for cheap, you're going to have a flipped 5/5 that can't attack or block.
Yeah, I think what they want you to do here is to manifest Dread into it and then attack with it as the 2/2. Crack a fetch land, crack an Evolving Wilds or whatever on your attack, and then it flips into the 5/5. You've gotten around the thing, but then that only happens once. Like, it's a neat thing to do once, and then you have this 5/5 that sits there that just allows you to return a land. But it's a bad card. Take it out.
Yeah,
there's a reason why I've never seen this played in Commander ever.
That same kind of like too cute interaction is why I'd say cut Scob Ruinator as well for the same thing. It's like,
that one as well.
Yeah, it's like, it's cute that you can flip it and get past the exile 3 creatures from your graveyard clause. Then just what do you end up with? A 5/6 with flying that you could cast out of your graveyard?
Totally. Again, they're trying to do the cute thing of showing you that Manifest Dread is Surveil 1 attached to Manifest. So, like, you could, in theory, manifest another card, throw Scab Ruinator into the graveyard, and then as you're Manifest Dreading, you can just get the Scab Ruinator back. But, like, all of that for what? A 5/6 with flying? I'm going to Swords to Plowshares it.
Yeah. Biomass Mutation is another one I would cut as well. You already have Overwhelming Stampede in the deck as well that gives XX and Trample at a flat rate. Biomass Mutation, it is kind of cool that you can just modify, like kind of how like what's the thing I'm thinking of? Mirror Entity. Yeah, like Mirror Entity is kind of on a different scale to what this thing is kind of, because Mirror Entity is repeatable. This is just a one and done kind of effect that you have to dump a lot of mana into, and you don't get trample, and it's obviously still just kind of block as is. So like it's fine, but it's not what we want to be doing here in the deck.
Right.
And then lastly, I'd probably say one of the new cards that comes in here, Zamone's Hypothesis. Because there's other card effects in here that do bouncing. And this one is kind of a little too sporadic. Kind of like how I feel about the Kian thingy, is that like there's too much variability into what this card does to reliably count on being it to your best potential. 3 and double blue for an instant. You may put a +1/+1 counter on a creature. Then you choose odd or even and return each creature with power of the chosen quality to its owner's hand.
I'm going to fight you a little bit on this one. I think that this card is a little more powerful than you're giving it credit for in this deck.
Okay.
Because it's instant speed. We don't get instant speed mass return creatures very often. I mean, notably, like sometimes this is going to play like 70% of a Cyclonic Rift, where instant speed, most importantly, you're making all these 2/2s that all have even power. So you can either decide whether you want to bounce all of your manifests to your hand if you have like instants or sorceries that you've had to put down with them, or you can keep all of your manifests while modifying that +1/+1 counter is going to guarantee that one of your other creatures is going to stay on the board as well. So this protects your Zimone and all of your manifests for 5 mana at instant speed while bouncing all of the odd powered creatures on the board. So any 1/1s, 3/3s, 5/5s, whatever, just get bounced back to people's hand at instant speed. So I understand why you'd want to cut this. I also am going to advocate for, I think it's a cool card, and I think it's totally sensible to keep it in the deck.
Sure. Yeah, your logic may definitely make sense as well. My counterpoint, I suppose, would be is the way that I look at mass bounce spells is you don't... yes, obviously in a pinch, this can be something that is useful on your board. The way that I look at returning to hand type of effects like these, especially battlefield-wide, is you're looking to get things out of your way opposing you. And you can't, with a spell like this, you can't reliably control over which powers your opponents have down in play. Obviously, this is a house against token decks that are doing just 1/1s, but someone's playing more go wide stompy, right? You have no control over the amount of powers on which ones are odd, which ones are evens against your opponent. It's like, I read a card like this kind of like Aetherize, you know? You're going to want to do this at instant speed if you have a big swing coming at you, and you have no power over which size. Like, you know, you obviously pick which one. You pick which one is coming at you more frequently, but you're not going to hit everything off of this. Totally. So, true. There is usefulness to a card like this, but again, I think there's too much variability into what this card does to make it reliable. So,
I dig it.
But that's my opinion. Obviously, you know, we're just two idiots on the internet. You know, my opinion means nothing to most of you. So
you can
keep it if you like
our
it.
Whole channel as just two idiots on the internet.
But that's kind of what I had about Jump Scare, really. The deck is really neat. Like I established going into it, you know, we've seen face down matters cards and face down permanent matter style decks before. And this one kind of not really focusing on it being face down matters, ironically makes it one of the best face down commanders, I suppose.
It's such a bad mechanic.
If you
that it has to be a sub theme in its own deck.
Yeah, just giving you creature rewards for doing the most basic action of the game is one of the strongest things that you can be doing as a commander player, or as a commander deck just as a whole. And so this one just giving you almost unparalleled levels of creature value for simply playing lands. This is definitely going to be a very strong contender of these 4 decks for playability out of the box.
Love it, dude. All right, let's get a little loopy, a little crazy, a little delirious. This is the Death Toll PreCon, helmed by Winter, Cynical Opportunist. It's a 2 black and a green for a legendary creature, human warlock. It's a 2/5 with Death Touch. It says whenever he attacks, mill 3 cards. With Delirium, which is... Delirium triggers if you have 4 different card types in your graveyard. Delirium, at the beginning of your end step, you may exile any number of cards from your graveyard with 4 or more card types from among them. If you do, put a permanent card from among them onto the battlefield with a finality counter on it. I told you we'd be getting to finality counters. So this is a really cool way to do Delirium. It's always cared about having those cards in your graveyard. It's always been the ability since Shadows over Innistrad when Delirium premiered. This is the first time that it's cared about exiling a total of 4 different card types. So some strategies for this deck. First of all, what a simple commander. That's just all it does. It just fills your graveyard and reanimates things. This is so clean cut. This feels like Marin of the clan Neltoth, like the OG not Grixis, the Golgari graveyard deck. Like this is kind of a love letter to Golgari graveyard. You're going to want to be playing a lot of cards that have multiple card types on them to trigger Delirium faster. So that's like artifact creatures or artifact lands. Tons of artifacts involved in multiple card types.
Well, I guess out of this deck theme in and of itself, right? Duskmourn all cares about enchantment creatures, so you should be able to have those pretty abundantly in your graveyard.
Exactly. So expect to see a ton of those. One of them, an artifact creature, actually a legendary artifact creature, is our alternate commander, which is the card that I'm most excited about from this entire set. It is Rendmaw Creaking Nest. So it's 3 black and a green for a legendary artifact creature. Scarecrow, baby! They're giving us more scarecrows.
Woohoo!
It's a 5/5 with menace and reach. And it says when it enters, and whenever you play a card with 2 or more card types, each player makes a tapped 2/2 black bird creature token with flying. The tokens are goated for the rest of the game. So every time that you play an artifact creature or an enchantment creature or an artifact land, because play a card, if you go like play Tree of Tales or whatever the green artifact land is, and then you play an artifact creature, hello? Like you've now just put 8 birds on the battlefield. They all come in tapped and they're all goated. So ridiculous. You win the game by swarming your opponent's boards with all of these birds that just keep attacking. But because you have the scarecrow, they're not attacking you. This is one of the coolest designs of a card that I've seen in a long time, and I immediately started brewing it. So I will probably be posting a deck tech on Rendmaw at some point pretty soon. But super stoked about that. We're leaving it in the deck, not in the command zone. I think that this is a winter deck for sure. But man, again, though, it just works so well together because it's an artifact creature. So it gets you halfway to Delirium on its own. And then you can exile it and one other thing. You get an instant or a sorcery or a land or whatever out of your graveyard as well. And you get to just put Rendmaw into play for free the turn that winter comes down. Like, this is super cool. So that's one of the new cards from the deck. A couple of other cool ones from it. This one brought up a lot of discussion on our Discord, linked down below. You can join the Discord; it's totally free. Into the Pit is 2 and a black for an enchantment. It says you may look at the top card of your library at any time. You can cast spells from the top of your library by sacrificing a non-land permanent in addition to paying their other costs. I'm curious, before I talk about it, what do you think about this card, John?
So with the correct amount of setup, this reads Black Future Sight to me.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like, you need to have a flow of creatures to be able to utilize this, but I'm confident that there's going to be deck strategy. Like, you just talked about Rendmaw, right? Imagine having this down with Rendmaw, that now you get access to the top of your deck, that if the top of your deck is 2 card types, you're now replenishing that bird that you just ate into the pit. So, you know, like, I don't know if this is incredible in this build specifically, but like with the correct setup or if you're a sacrifice deck in any capacity and don't have access to blue, you have a Future Sight now that you can use.
It's very neat. I'm pretty happy with it. I was saying that to me it reads a bit more like a Skull Clamp. You kind of are sacrificing something to like functionally draw a card and play it. Like it's cool. And I mean, Skull Clamp is a hell of a compliment. Like that's an unbelievably broken card. So anything that's close to that, yeah, I'm really curious to see where this falls. I want to see this play out in a game before I really like evaluate it or judge it. But on face value, it seems like a really neat card.
Where it falls into the pit.
Pit. The room from this deck, the new room is very cool as personally as a Sir Conrad lover. So this is Polluted Cistern and Dim Oubliette. So 1 and a black.
They
for
did it,
polluted
guys.
cistern.
They reprinted Oubliette.
They reprinted Oubliette.
Yay!
So polluted cistern is 1 and a black for, obviously it's an enchantment room. Same thing we've talked about before. 1 and a black, whenever 1 or more cards are put into your graveyard from your library, each opponent loses 1 life for each card type among those cards. Super cool. That alone, like, just doming people off of milling your cards. Like, let's say you mill a land and Renma, that's the entire table takes 3 just off of that. So I love that. And then dim oubliette is 4 and a black to unlock it. Whenever you unlock this door, mill 3 cards and then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it's just a reanimator spell on the other half of this.
Nice.
Both of those obviously sit around and just continue to do stuff. But yeah, this feels really Sir Conrad coded, and I like it a lot. And last new one I want to talk about, speaking of reprints, we have Deluge of Doom. Not quite Toxic Deluge, but sort of. It's 2 and a black for a sorcery that says all creatures get -X until end of turn, where X is the number of card types among cards in your graveyard. So like this is very, very close to a Toxic Deluge. It's 3 mana for a board wipe. Love to see it. That's really some of the other new cards are cool, like Ursine Monstrosity is 2 and a green for a bear mutant. It's a 3/3 trample. At the beginning of combat on your turn, mill a card and choose an opponent at random. Ursine Monstrosity attacks that player to this combat if able. Until the end of turn, it gains indestructible and +1/+1 for each card type among cards in your graveyard. This is just like a good card. I'm not excited about it. That's kind of how the rest of them sort of are. But yeah, neat cards.
Oops, an indestructible Tarmogoyf.
Oops. Yeah, it's very cool. It's just nothing that really like ticks my brain quite as much as Rend Ma. Back to the main deck, talking about some money reprints. This one's a little bit better than the Miracles deck, not by a whole lot. It's maybe a few dollars better, but there are 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, there's 6 cards that are above $5 at the time of printing, which is I like that. Notably, there's a Dryad Arbor in this deck. If it wasn't in here, I was going to add it. Like, I'm really glad that they included this because it's a land creature. So it fills 2 different slots on your Delirium. Quick question about Dryad Arbor while we're here. John, when you play Dryad Arbor, do you put it in your lands or do you put it in your creatures?
Right in the middle between the two.
You just bridge the gap.
How like everybody kind of has that zone where you put mana rocks?
Yeah. That's where you put this one?
Typically, yes.
It's such a point of contention on like, do you put this in with your lands or do you put this? I count it as a mana dork, so I just put it up with the creatures so that I can always be above reproach. So that's Dryad Arbor. Renin 7 is in this deck. It's a planeswalker for 5 mana that has a lot of abilities I'm not going to read. There isn't just a plain old reanimate in this deck, which is wonderful. Love having reanimates around. Titania Nature's Force is a $9 card right now. Yeah, 6 mana for an elemental. You can play forest from your graveyard. When a forest enters the battlefield under your control, you make a 5/3 green elemental. And when an elemental you control dies, you get to mill 3 cards. This is just an engine that's going to keep your graveyard going. There's a Professor Onyx in this deck as well. We have quite a few planeswalkers just floating around in this deck. There's actually 4 planeswalkers in this deck, which is more than most precons get, because we have the Renin 7 and the Professor Onyx. Both are the good ones. And then there's an Obnixilis Reignited, which is basically it's a targeted removal spell on a planeswalker. And Grist the Hungertide lives in this deck as well because it's a planeswalker creature in your graveyard.
I was hoping Grist would be in there.
Super cool. Yeah. And then lastly, another $10 card, a favorite of yours, John, Whip of Erebos is in this deck.
Yay!
Love Whip of Erebos. Yeah, it's an enchantment artifact. So we love having those. They built this deck really cool. I mean, it's almost like a Baba Lysaga deck where like you just care about having multiple card types among your things. But I think that Winter is going to absolutely pop off really quickly. So if you can get down some cheap graveyard fillers, which there's like Grizzly Salvage and things like that in this deck. Mulch is in this deck. Like there's a lot of like 1 and 2 mana, I'm going to fill my graveyard cards. You have the possibility of putting Winter down on turn 3 or on turn 4 and immediately reanimating something on your end step. And you could reanimate something absolutely humongous. There's like Ishkana is in this deck, the Graph Widow, which has Delirium that makes spiders, and then you domes people for spiders. We have like Noxious Gear Hulk in this deck. We've got Hornet Queen is one of the best things you can reanimate in here. There's some
Hooray,
crazy
bees!
things. Hooray, bees! Notably, I'm curious how you'll feel about this. There's one card in here that I'm leaving in that I have cut from every other deck, and that's Burnished Heart. Exclusively because it is an artifact creature that can sacrifice itself and go to the graveyard if you ever have it in hand. But my god, do I hate Burnished Heart. 6 mana to put 2 lands onto the battlefield in a green
Especially
color.
in green. Yeah.
Green is ridiculous.
Yeah,
So,
but I agree with you. I think it has practical use here because it fills the slot of being able to give you multiple card types. And as a matter of fact, it honestly would be a pretty decent thing to hit even with the recurs into play with a finality thing, right? Because like it comes back, you get it in your yard by doing land ramp and then recur it off of winter and then ramp again. It'll go to exile at that point, but you now have had one card to fetch you 4 lands. That's actually pretty good.
Super, super good. Yeah, so like I actually am really impressed with how they've built this deck. There's so many like enchantment creatures, artifact creatures, or it's just things that fill the graveyard super well. Really impressed with it. I think that this is going to do some really good things. However, we can make it do slightly better. So I've gone ahead and added 5 cards to this deck. First one I want to talk about is Nesting Grounds. Do you know what we're doing with Nesting Grounds in this deck, John?
I'm drawing a blank real quick on what Nesting Grounds is. Is that the
It's a land that taps for a colorless, or you can pay a generic mana and tap it to move a counter from target permanent you control onto another target permanent as a sorcery.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of something else completely entirely. Oh, so we're taking away these finality counters.
Importantly, we're moving our finality counters onto other people's permanents.
Wow. I hadn't thought about that.
You can, because winter reanimates stuff with a finality counter on them, you could tap the Nesting Grounds to remove that finality counter from your thing, put it on somebody else's creature, and then if it dies, it gets exiled instead.
Sick. That's
so
cool.
So gross. But it's a 12-cent card. Like,
yeah, because it was just in Modern Horizons 3, wasn't it?
Yes.
Nice.
It was. It's so cool. I think that's one of the really stupid things you can do. This actually, I think if you look back on all of our PreCon reviews, this is the first time that I'm including a few different lands in the upgrade guide. So Nesting Grounds being one of them, Shifting Woodlands being the other. And it is a $6 card, so I know that's a bit of a reach, but our total adds is about $10 for this deck. So Shifting Woodlands it's a land that enters tapped unless you control a forest. It taps for green. It has Delirium, which is what we care about. For 2 green, Shifting Woodlands becomes a copy of target permanent card in your graveyard until end of turn. Activate only if there's 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard. So it's ridiculous. You just get to make it a copy of whatever permanent you want in your graveyard. Notably, there are some like good enchantments in here, like Death Reap Ritual, that you can just make it a copy of that, and then at your end step, you get to draw a card. Or you could turn it into a Hornet Queen, if you wanted to, for a 2/2 with Flying and Death Touch. There's quite a few good things to make it copies of, among other lands as well. So you could make it a copy of Nesting Grounds if you wanted to.
Ooh, you could do something real silly, or like you get winter down early and then somehow winter dies, and then if you've got your Delirium set up, the woodland becomes a winter, recur the winter. Now you bypass commander tax.
For sure. Shifting Woodlands, what I love about it is it forces people to be playing removal and graveyard hate to get rid of your stuff. I'm a big fan of it in almost any green decks at this point, but in this one specifically where we care about Delirium, it's going to be really easy to activate its ability. And then you just have threat of activation of, oh, this land actually represents anything in my graveyard. So love that. Some people are going to hate me for adding this, but we got to put a Living Death in this deck. Come on. Like, we're filling our graveyard. We're playing like a couple of cheap little guys. We should be playing a Living Death. Come on. Big fan of that. A quick and really easy graveyard filler piece is Malevolent Rumble from Modern Horizons 3. This is another one. I've just started adding this to all of my green decks because it's basically Ponder. So for 1 and a green, you make an Eldrazi spawn, you mill 4, and put a permanent card from among those into your hand. So it fills 3 cards. It actually puts 4 cards in your graveyard. Very importantly, it puts a sorcery in your graveyard while ramping you 1. So it's going to get you closer to Delirium while putting 3 other cards in your graveyard and ramping you by 1. This is how you get Winter on turn 3 with Delirium active, is things like Malevolent Rumble. Huge fan of that. And then the last one I want to put in is a Crashing Drawbridge. There's no ways to really give haste in these colors, and it also is just an artifact creature. So it's going to help trigger your Delirium and trigger your Rendmaw and put some crows into play. Crashing Drawbridge is a little funky because you're reanimating on your end step with Winter. But you're still playing big things and you have like a reanimate in the decks. Like there's other ways to reanimate things, and the downside of playing reanimator is going reanimate, pass, and then you just sit there with your gigantic target on your forehead. If you can go reanimate, tap the Crashing Drawbridge, it also allows Winter to attack and mill 3 cards on the turn that it comes in. Which is also very important. It's like you've ramped a turn. It's functional ramp in the deck when you have a commander that cares about attacking. So nice. That's the 5 cards I want to add.
Would you want consideration for any adds? Would you suggest putting in any additions into this deck, like what I was talking about, of getting any other additives of some of the other card types that are not in this deck, like Battles or Kindred?
I didn't really care too much about that. Like, there's so many good enchantment creatures, artifact creatures, that I don't think that Delirium's ever going to be a problem. I don't really think that we need to like build around it, because Delirium only cares about having 4 types in the graveyard. If you have all 9 types in the graveyard, it's not any better necessarily. You are going to be exiling a lot of cards with Winter, not Withers, for the Baldur's Gate 3.
Doth thou Delirium alone?
Yeah, you are exiling a bunch of cards with him. So you're going to constantly need to be refilling your graveyard. But in playtesting this a little bit, I found that it was really easy to just keep Delirium active just by maintaining mill. So I'm not really caring about putting battles in just for the sake of having battles. There's also, there's 4 planeswalkers. We have most card types in here. I think the only things that are missing is battles and kindred. So like you're going to have Delirium most of the time. So to answer that, no, I don't care. Okay. That's my 5 adds, my 5 cuts. If you've never played with Deadbridge Chant, it looks really cool and then does exactly nothing. So don't play Deadbridge Chant, please. I went ahead and cut that very quickly. That was when I started skimming through the deck list. That was what I did before anything else. I was like, all right, that's got to go.
I've seen Deadbridge Chant do work.
If it didn't put a random creature, and if you didn't have creatures in here like Burnished Heart, then it would be fine. But like your average creature in this deck is pretty mid. So like it's 6 mana mill 10, which is fine. But then it like it's going to take you a lot to get to. I guess there's some argument for like you're exiling targeted cards with Winter and bringing stuff back, so you're kind of mitigating that random chance a little bit. But I just think,
yeah.
Plus, again, it's cute. It's not powerful.
Yeah, but if Deadbridge Chant is the first thing recurred in your early game with Winter, because Winter can hit permanents. He doesn't get just creatures.
He totally can reanimate it. I just think that there's better things.
Your hypothetical haste Winter situation, he's down on 3, haste, mills, Deadbridge is one of those, recurs the Deadbridge with a finality. The Deadbridge has now put 10 more cards in your graveyard. Now you're set for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and then you get blown out by a Bajuka Bog, like in a way that you wouldn't have if you didn't get the Deadbridge Chant. This is what I actually love about Winter, is that he naturally is exiling the cards from your graveyard. You're never going to have a target on your head because you're going to mill them and then immediately get to like replay those things out of the graveyard. So I actually don't think that sitting there with a huge graveyard is a benefit in this deck. I actually think it's going to put like a huge bat signal that says, hey, on my next turn, I'm going to get Hornet Queen back. Like, you'd rather just mill that and then immediately reanimate it. So, not a fan of Deadbridge Chant. There's 2 creatures in this deck that just have Delirium that are pretty awful. So I took those out. That's Gnarlwood Dryad, which is a 1-mana 1/1 with Death Touch that with Delirium gets
Is a
+2/+2. Is a 3/3. Horrible. Why are we playing this? And then Obsessive Skinner is kind of the same, where it's a 2-mana 1/1 that enters and puts a +1/+1 counter on a creature. And then Delirium is at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep. If there are 4 or more cards, you get to put a counter on something. Sure, like Dream World is it gets around, it puts 3 counters on something a turn. But like, who cares about 3+? This is not a +1/+1 counters deck. Like, there's nothing that really benefits from having those counters on them. So I immediately took this out. Along those lines, I removed Inscription of Abundance from this deck. It's an instant with kicker that if you've kicked it, you get to choose all of the modes instead of just one of them. There's 3 modes. It's put 2 counters on a creature. Target player gains X life, where X is the greatest power among creatures they control, or target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. Those are 3 abilities that I do not care about in this deck. So I've gone ahead and cut that. And then, dear God, they put a Temple of the False God in this deck. Watsy, please stop doing this. That was an easy cut to begin with, but we're obviously upgrading with 2 very actually powerful lands. I don't get it. It's like they're trolling us with this Temple of the False God that they refuse to cut from PreCon.
Am I gonna make you upset when I tell you that I'm not gonna be talking about that with Endless Punishment?
No, you can do whatever you want, but like, dear God, why? We're in green. We have real ramp. We don't need Temple of the False God. Kiora taunts me every time that I look at that card. It, like, to me, Temple of the False God is cards that newer players think are very powerful. It's like when you talk about somebody who's like, oh, like dumb people think they're smart. It's like, this is what like new players think is a powerful card. And then you play with it and it's the only card in your opening hand and you have to mulligan. When like any other land would probably do. So please get rid of that. Please. You could even, I don't normally advocate for shredding Magic cards, but you should shred these. Just make it so that there's one less of them that exists in the world. Anyway, that's my rant. That's my deck. I really like this deck. I think that if I'm rating them on 10s, which apparently I'm doing, I would give this like a 7 or an 8 out of 10, just on how fun it looks. There's some really cool win cons in the deck. There's like an Arachnogenesis in this deck. It's got a really good land count. A lot of the lands are really good. You have so many different like enchantments. Like there's cool removal in the deck between like Binding of the Old Gods being an enchantment. You have Obnixilis that's a planeswalker that's removal. You've got Noxious Gearhulk that's an artifact creature that's removal. Like this is a really cool Delirium deck that is built in a really clever way that I think I would enjoy playing this a lot. Go get
Yeah, I mean, fill your graveyard isn't anything necessarily we've ever seen that's new. You know what I mean? Lots of decks do graveyard matters, but yeah, I agree with you that just like the feel of what this is trying to do is like so simple.
It's really refreshing.
Yeah, it's just a simple, like, it's not trying to be like, oh, fill your graveyard, like, again, not anything against, like, especially what have we seen recently, like the Disa Tarmogoyf thing, right? That's
again,
trying to do
take on graveyard deck where it's like graveyard but Tarmogoyfs.
Yeah, that's trying to do the Disa thing is trying to do like Tarmogoyfs in like a very aggressive, my creatures are really, really large based on my full graveyard all the time. Whereas this is looking like, hey, let's put a little bit of extra stockpile in your graveyard and then you get these things back as you need them.
Yeah, we've come a long way from the like Jared Golgari Lich Lord and Marin of the Clan Neltoth. Like we've come a long way from those where it was like complicated graveyard decks. And it's now just like, I don't know, he like puts a bunch of weird cards in your graveyard and reanimates one of them a turn. Like that's really sick.
Like this feels like if you have ever wanted to play the cool thing that Muldrotha of the Gravetide does, but you don't want to be instantly hated out of your pod, I feel like Winter is going to be your choice.
Yes, it's very neat. I will definitely be building the Rend Maw.
Scarecrows. I'm here for it.
Very, very fun. Very cool.
Joseph.
That's that deck. Yeah.
All right.
Punish me, baby. I said what I said.
That's our thumbnail reaction faces. Are you prepared for some endless punishment?
I am.
Welcome to the maws of hell. It's the endless punishment deck. We're here for a good time, not a fast time. Actually, that's not true. We're here for a very fast time in Group Slug. We're here for it. Did you just enjoy Bumbleflower being able to give gifts? Nah. Hellspawn, baby. Let's go.
You're just pistol whipping the table.
Yeah. So, Valgavoth, Harrower of Souls, is our leader here of the Endless Punishment Rakdos colored deck. We are going to be basically punishing our opponents. Group Slug is kind of the name here, what we're going with here. The idea is that we're just going to be doing effects that just endlessly ping and drain our opponents for playing the game. Are you having fun? Now you're not. So Valgavoth is 2 black and a red. Funny enough, did you actually notice, by the way, all 4 face commanders cost 4?
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
That's cool.
For some reason made all the commanders of this cycle, all of them cost the same. So it's going to be very interesting to see if that is an effect on how powerful these play against each other, because all 4 are coming down at roughly the same time.
Yes.
Very interestingly. I just thought that was a nice little fun fact. Valgavoth is 4 black and a red for a legendary Elder Demon. It's a 4/4. Flying, ward, pay 2 life, and whenever an opponent loses life for the first time during each of their turns, put a +1/+1 counter on Valgavoth and draw a card. What you're going to want to be doing with this is setting up your game effects and pieces down in play that say if your opponent does some kind of action during their turn that causes them to lose life or take damage in any capacity, Valgavoth will get himself bigger and draw you a card. So with the right pieces down, which this deck has a plethora of, you could go a turn cycle of Valgavoth getting a 1/1 counter and drawing you a card. So he could be like again, 3 points higher by the time it goes back to you. And that's real sick. Just having things down that say like each person's upkeep, they take a damage. That draws you a card and gets your commander bigger. Like, this thing can get out of hand very quickly. Now, obviously, it only triggers the first time they lose life, and it's only during their during the opponent's turn. So you can't be doing the like, what's that? Ob Nixilis Captive Kingpin thing, where like you can't
say this feels kind of similar to it, but it's
like
once per, they've fixed Ob Nixilis.
Yeah, fixed Nixilis. There we go.
Ob Fixtilis.
Ha ha ha! Got there. So that is the face commander, Valgavoth. Your alternate commander of this deck is the Lord of Pain. Whoops, if I am going out of the wrong tab here. There we go. The Lord of Pain. 3 black and a red, legendary human assassin, is a 5/5 with menace. Your opponents can't gain life, and when a player casts their first spell each turn, choose another target player. The Lord of Pain deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to the chosen player. So, you know, like we had that talk about the that one Cellar Spawn demon that came in the Miracles deck.
Yeah.
The Lord of Pain is kind of like that, but on repeat. Anytime during any person, like it's just whoever's turn it is, if somebody is able to pull off a spell of any kind, if the Lord of Pain is down, you get to choose another player to send damage of that mana value to wherever person you want to. And
it's
it triggers
very cool that you have to throw it at a different player than whoever cast the spell, because I was immediately when I read this, I was like, oh, they're just going to cast like a Soul Ring first and just take a damage or whatever and then start casting more spells. But no, they want to cast the big thing first so that you can throw all that damage at somebody else. You're going to end up being like an ally while you're group slugging.
Exactly. And then obviously worst case scenario as well, this does trigger off of you as well. So when you cast your first spell, you get to send damage outwards. But then as your opponents are also casting things, you then get to choose where the damage goes. I foresee this kind of card basically always be pointing damage at whoever is sitting at the highest life. And that is very cool then as well, that he also just naturally comes with your opponents can't gain life. You can gain life. You still have the capability to do that, which actually this deck wants you to do. There are multiple equipment in here that give an equipped creature lifelink. So if you throw those kind of things on the Lord of Pain, you're now flinging around damage in a kind of sense of like Exquisite Blood, kind of, where someone is losing damage and then you're gaining that life back because the Lord of Pain has lifelink.
I dig it.
Very, very cool. The deck, obviously, as you would expect, is filled with all kinds of Rakdos-y kind of card effects that basically punish anytime anybody would do anything, more or less. Some of the new cards that are in here are definitely going to be the ones that help you deal damage to people during their turns, and then just in general going to be controlling down the board so that obviously as you're flinging around all this damage, you're not just dying on the crackback. So what this deck is trying to do is drain everybody down for casting spells, and then you're following that up with game pieces and effects that keep the board clear or keep you alive as you are doing all this damage. That's obviously what Valgavoth is trying to do. Valgavoth will be getting himself bigger to help you close out a game faster and keeps your hand filled so that you always have answers as some of these hate pieces are getting thrown around. Group Slug is a very, very tricky subject to bring up about, because at some point someone's going to start claiming you as stacks. If you have too many, you take a damage for drawing a card, you take a damage for drawing a card, you take a damage for playing a land, those kind of things get frowned upon very quickly if they're if they go too long.
As an Oharaxino player, I willingly admit that it is a mono red stacks deck. But it is. Group Slug is effectively stacks.
Yeah.
But it's stacks that ends the game. That's the important part. It's stacks that does damage.
Right. So what you want to be doing with this is you want to get these things down as quickly as you can so that you're just not sitting there with all of these pain pieces to potentially build up to a point where your opponents can retaliate. Stuff like we can be talking about here is Gleeful Arsonist. It's kind of like, what am I thinking here? It's kind of like reverse Guttersnipe, sort of, okay. But 2 and a red for a human wizard. It's a 1/2. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, Gleeful Arsonist deals damage equal to its power to that player, and then it has Undying. So if it were to die and has no counters, it comes back with a +1/+1 counter to the battlefield.
Oh, I missed this in spoiler season.
Yeah, well, I mean, this just got revealed behind the scenes notes a little bit here. We're recording this. Yeah, a couple hours ago. So yeah. We're really janking it up today. But sick. Yeah, so it's like it comes down initially, and obviously it's not quite the strength of Guttersnipe. It's one of those kind of ones that just deals 1 damage at a time. But if you can kill this thing and have it come back, now anytime your opponents are doing a non-creature spell, they're taking everybody is taking damage, or just that player is anyway. They're taking damage equal to its power, and obviously this can be affected by if you can have Gleeful Arsonist power get bigger as well. But I like it. Yeah, it's either those kind of like you had that really fun deck that it's like you do the villainous choice kind of thing, right? You're forcing, this whole deck is trying to force opponents into unfavorable situations. It's like, do you want to take damage for the cards you want to play, or are you just not going to play spells?
Right.
Both of those are good for you. That's the whole idea what this deck is trying to do. There's a really cool removal spell I wanted to bring up here called
Sadistic Shell Game. Oh,
we're getting to the shell game later. Suspended Sentence first, though. It's another one of these. It's a suspend card that keeps suspending itself. So for 3 and a black, it's an instant. You can destroy a creature an opponent controls. They lose 3 life, and then it gets exiled with 3 time counters on it, or you can suspend it for 1 and a black. And this is just gonna, you hide this away into suspend early, and then just basically every 3 turns, this just comes back off of exile, casts, and then goes back to exile.
Yes. I love that it makes the player whose creature the owner of the creature that you're killing is going to take the 3 from it, and I love that. So like, it's like Exterminate from the Doctor Who set. But yeah, it's dope that they're finishing this cycle of like rousing refrain inspiring refrain, rousing, maybe rousing refrain as well is the blue and the red ones. And then suspended sentence is now the black one. I wish that they would have kept with the moniker, like the name. But it is dope having another suspend card like this.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. And then you briefly brought it up, but yeah, I do want to talk about Sadistic Shell Game.
Love it.
This looks so good. I know, as our local purveyor of let's play a mini game. Honestly, not even necessarily a mini game. Let me read the card and then I'll go on my thoughts about it. 4 and a black for a sorcery, starting with the next opponent in turn order. Each player chooses a creature you don't control and destroy the chosen creatures. I read this kind of like Black Council's Judgment.
It is. It's almost exactly Black Council's Judgment because it doesn't target. It doesn't target.
Shroud,
you can hexproof, ward, whatever, and you're not going to have to pay for any of those things.
Yeah, the fact that nothing of yours can be chosen either. Now, granted, obviously, Council's Judgment can hit any non-land permanent, so Black obviously has to have its downside to it as well, but yeah, this is sick. The fact that it also starts with your opponent, like, you don't get to make your notions known until the table has made their choices.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Like that thing.
Yeah. So, like, one of the downsides of Council's Judgment is that because when you start, your intentions are known right out the gate, so everybody else could potentially work around you. One of the problems with Council's Judgment is if your 3 opponents gang up on one permanent instead, your choice could sometimes become irrelevant. Because it starts with the opponents, they're going to be figuring out amongst themselves what thing they want to target, and then it gets to you, and you can either pile on the same thing that they've picked or pick something else entirely.
It's so dope, dude. One of these days, I'm just going to build like a Grixis mini games deck that just has like Wheel of Misfortune, Sadistic Shell Game, Liar's Pendulum, and just like my turn is purely, guys, we're going to stop playing Commander for a second and play a completely separate game.
A completely different mini game. Yep, yeah, exactly.
I'm so into Sadistic Shell Game. Also, like, it's 4 and a black. I would have expected this to be like 3 black. I'm really glad that they made this mana cost as inclusive as it is.
Yep, makes it splashable into a variety of different decks. I thought going in here, talking to begin with other reprint cards here, aside from Valgavoth and the Lord of Pain, there are 6 other legendary creatures in here that can be your commander. 6 other Rakdos-colored legends, including Rakdos himself, Vile Smasher the Fierce,
dude,
and Karavek the Merciless, and Mogus God of Slaughter.
Dope.
Like, absolutely, these reprint cards drive home the idea that this wants to be intense group slug. You've got like Mogus, who isn't a creature until you have your devotion up, and then even when he is, he's indestructible. And then at each opponent's upkeep, they take 2 damage unless they sacrifice a creature. That's ridiculous. Vile Smasher is one of those top end commanders of all time, I would argue.
Oh yeah.
Your first spell, random damage to an opponent equal to the mana value. Wacky. Mm-hmm. And then obviously, like, Karavek is a classic group slug, right? When an opponent casts a spell, Karavek will deal damage equal to its mana value to any target. So you can shoot face or creatures.
So dope. Out of curiosity, there's not another partner card in this deck, is there?
No, nope. As far as I'm aware,
I wish
there's
they
only
would have just included one of them,
like a mono black one, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Some mono black thing,
right?
That'd be super cool. Yeah.
Bummer. Anyway. Yeah,
so other real stuff in here. I already talked about Vile Smasher. Keterect Parasite is one of your other top cards in this deck as well. It's kind of like a oh crap, I'm blanking on the name. It's like a Nekasar kind of card. It's one of these that punishes your opponents for drawing cards. All you have to do is control a red permanent, which obviously you're Rakdos, you're going to have one in here, but that was pushing $15 before this deck here. Another one that is kind of sneaky high is Rampaging Ferocidon, another card that's going to stop your opponents from gaining life, menace, and when another creature enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to that creature's controller. This obviously affects you as well as most group slug cards tend to, but if you can counterbalance those points with, like I said, a couple of the game pieces in here that give cards of yours lifelink, that's how you counterbalance these group slug kind of cards. Your opponents are not playing around the fact that they're going to be taking continual pinging damage. You've got pieces built into yours that help you gain some of that life back. I guess Ferocidon is a bad example of that because he also stops you from gaining life. But, you know, if you don't have that down in play, you can stabilize with some life gain cards. Like one of the other high reprints in here, Witch's Clinic. It's a land that you can pay 2, tap, and target commander gains lifelink until end of turn.
Gross.
Yeah, you just target Valgavoth or the Lord of Pain if you're using him as your commander instead, and just give them lifelink until the end of turn. So as they're dealing their damage, because you can still do combat damage just like normal. That's obviously what Valgavoth wants you to do. You get Valgavoth vigor with these. Vigor? You get him. Oh, if you get vigor with the blast on counters. He gets bigger. Yeah, he's just primed to swing. Yeah. So the lifelink will help you keep you alive there. Surprisingly, I was kind of shocked by this one as well. One last notable, really good reprint in here is the newer Braids, Arisen Nightmare. I hadn't realized that this has climbed to about $10 now. Must have been an effect of standard rotation, I guess, that made mono black extremely good. I really like this Braids. This card is so awesome. It holds a special place for me. It carried me at Dominaria United pre-release. So good, dude. 1 and double black, 3/3. At your end step, you can sacrifice an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. If you do, each opponent may sacrifice a permanent that shared a card type with it, and each opponent who doesn't loses 2 life, and you draw a card.
Fire.
Wacky. I have seen Braids come down. You eat something of yours very crucial to everybody's plans, like a land. And this is just now going to dome everybody for 2, and you'll refill 3 cards. That then with Valgavoth, if that's the first life they've lost, will get him bigger, potentially. Oh, no, I guess that is on the off turn. Never mind. Screw that plan. But Braids is ridiculous. Braids is so freaking cool. And that's kind of what the deck is all about. Oh, there's also Lightning Greaves in here as well, which is notable because you are obviously going to have very heavy targets with some of these punishing style cards. So giving them Shroud is the best way to keep them.
That card was on the downward trend price-wise, and then they printed Nadu, and they gave Lightning Greaves a combo piece.
Surprise!
And we're back to $5 again.
I'm seeing it here at 7.
Oh, we're just looking at
even better.
Yeah.
So this is normally the part where I would say, hey, let's make this group slug strategy even more intense. But here's the thing, like I was just describing about when it comes to group slug, there is just so many different directions that you can kind of take it in. What I've decided to do for this upgrade guide instead is just kind of give a few examples of a different like theme directions that you could work this towards if you want to focus in on what the group slug is trying to do into a specific type. So what I mean by that is obviously one of the most intense ones that you could do is playing more styles of cards that punish opponents for doing things with their lands. Lands, as we have talked about before, is obviously the most crucial backbone to any commander deck. And most decks will just stop functioning if you deny them their lands or punish them for playing or tapping their lands. So what I mean by this is adding more cards into this deck, things like Zozu the Punisher.
Take me there, come on.
Yeah, Zozu the Punisher, Mana Barbs, and Polluted Bonds. Stuff like these. Any kind of game effects that punish your opponents for playing a land, or if they tap a land, this is going to drastically reduce how much they can play during a turn. But the counterpoint to that, though, is that you will be receiving tons of hate back at you, because I guess it's not unfair to say that doing this kind of gameplay is like soft land destruction.
Yeah, you're making people consider whether or not they want to play lands, and that is inherently taking away some agency in the game because you need lands to cast spells, obviously. But as soon as you play something like Zozu, you have a target on your head. I can tell you
Yeah.
that as somebody who plays him pretty frequently.
We've said this a bunch so far during this segment specifically, but like I said, this is going to be a very, very tricky deck to play and not feel like you're going to be getting hated out, because this type of archetype is very tough to play. Because casuals will definitely see stuff like this as unfun or unfair. This might not be a great deck to pick up if you are learning to play or your pod is still very, very casual, but you can make this be incredibly taxing against your opponents and could pull off some fast wins with decks like these. So another direction to go into this, we brought up about Nekisar before, card draw punish. Right, you're obviously not in blue, but you can still get the Rakdos colored cards. This deck naturally has in it enchantments like Spiteful Visions that already does this naturally as well. But you can add other pieces in here, like the new from Duskmourn, Razorkin Needlehead, or Ob Nixilis the Hate Twisted. These kinds of ones that punish your opponents for drawing cards. Just depending on what they're playing, this can be a huge detriment, right? You up against somebody who's doing Rhystic Study, now they're going to be second guessing if they want to draw a card for casting spells or not, you know?
Let's go. I'm here for punishing the Rhystic players.
Yeah, or even just in general, you know, you stack enough of these down, they just go to their turn and take 5. Like, how do you stop that, you know? It's very hard, but also a very cool direction to go into. Punishing your opponents for casting spells. If you have somebody, if your meta is all about people who are trying to do multiple spells during a turn or off turn or whatever, add the game pieces that punish them for doing those kinds of effects. That's going to be stuff like Rug of Smothering or Isolation Cell, the things that are going to drain them for life equal to the amount of times that they have cast a spell during their turn.
That will probably get you the most hate, I will say.
Just from casting spells.
Get a little crazy. Of like, okay, well, I guess do I want to ramp and play a spell? Because then I'll take a total of 3 this turn. Like, that just starts to get crazy.
Exactly.
I like
so the last one I would recommend then is, I guess, if you're looking to just kind of upgrade this in such a sense that you want to not be super taxing against your opponents, and this direction also keeps you alive longer, play the game pieces that discourage your opponents from attacking you. Stuff like Hellish Rebuke and Revenge of Ravens. These things like kind of the Ghostly Prison style cards, but for red and black. They deal damage or just stop opponents from attacking you just in general.
Oh, yeah. Things like Ensnaring Bridge go crazy in this kind of deck.
Crawl Space as well. Same thing, you know?
Not necessarily recommending to add those to the deck because, again, they're a bit more expensive and it kind of goes above our idea of what an upgrade for a pre-con guide should be. But
right, but this is
want to like.
But if I may, this is the reason why I decided to do this upgrade list as here's general strategies to work towards, because looking for upgrades, group slug cards like these are not cheap, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know.
This kind of red black burn you really, really fast for taxing you on what you're doing playing the game. You can just unfortunately encounter game pieces like these that are very, very good in this type of strategy, but they're just expensive, cost-wise anyway.
Shieldred the Apocalypse.
Exactly. So this is a very tricky deck to be talking about, right? Because it's like, if you really enjoy doing this kind of thing, you degenerate monster, you're going to be putting a decent amount of money into this to make it very, very good, you know?
Yeah, I love it. Well, I guess that brings us to a more important part of the upgrade guide then, which is what are you cutting from the deck?
Yeah, we can make some cuts in here. One in specific is actually one of the new cards that is in here, because I just don't think this is super practical for both against your opponent or for you. It's called Barbed Flare Gremlin. 3 and a red for a 3/2 gremlin with first strike, haste, And whenever a player taps a land for mana, if Barbed Flare Gremlin is tapped, that player adds 1 mana of any type that land produced, then the land deals 1 damage to that player. Like, it's cool. Yeah. It's neat that this card is trying to tempt your opponents by double mana for being able to ping them, but just 1 damage? Nah. Yep. You don't want to be ramping your opponents for 1 damage a go.
Well, what's interesting about this is it counterplays itself, where like Mana Barbs is an unbelievable card where it's just if anybody taps a land, you take 1. Really good. Mana Flare is not that great of a card in Commander, despite what some people may say about it. It's just not good to be giving your opponents that many resources for free. So, and even me, like, again, this deck is kind of ticking a lot of my like O'Hare Axonil brain. This card is really bad with O'Hare Axonil because the land itself is dealing the damage. So like it doesn't even play well with any of your like lifelink equipments because Barbed Flare Gremlin is not doing the damage. The land that's being tapped is dealing the damage.
Correct.
Super weird.
So not great, but I'm sure someone could figure out some way to break it with the double mana, whatever.
I don't know, it's also just a 3/2.
Yeah, that's true.
Like it's kind of weak.
Yeah. Tectonic Giant is another one I would cut as well. The effect that it can do is kind of neat, but just not quite doing it. What I've decided, what I was working with some of these cuts is the punishing effects that only do life loss during your turn. Because what Valgavoth wants to be happening is damage, life loss happening during the opponent's turn. So you kind of want to modify some of the pieces that are in here that they are going to be pinging away or doing life loss against your opponent during their turn. That way you get Valgavoth Vigor. I did it again. It got Vigor. You get him
Bioshock, my guy.
Yeah, you get him bigger and you draw cards as well. So Tectonic Giant does definitely some cool damage-based things, but only during your turn. So, goodbye. We're on this again. There's enough removal in here that you do not need Decree of Pain. Valgavoth draws you cards too, you know? Yeah. Like, this is just unnecessary in here. Like how you're also always against Temple of the False God. Please stop with Decree of Pain.
Yes.
You know?
I also think board wipes don't actually seem great in this deck. You kind of want creatures out. Like, you want to be taxing things.
And I mean, you can keep Blasphemous Act. That's in here as well. Yeah. Keep Blasphemous Act because that's very useful. But
there's also a Brash Taunter in the deck, so you definitely want Decree of Pain.
Exactly.
You definitely want Blasphemous Act.
Exactly. Speaking of lands, this is a deck that also has 38 in its lands. So I think just for the sake of being able to fit more punish cards in here, cut a land or two, maybe.
Which land do you want to cut, John? Say it. Say it. Say it with me. 3, 2, 1. Temple of the False God. What are you getting? Wait, hold on. What did you say?
Terramorphic Expanse.
Yeah, I get that.
My last card that I would cut out of this deck is a weird little like enchantment hate piece called Enchanter's Bane. It's a 1 and a red enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, target enchantment deals damage equal to its mana value to its controller unless that player sacrifices it.
I can tell you exactly why this is in here. It's to play against the other 3 precons in this set, and I completely agree with cutting it.
Yeah, like you could maybe do a neat thing where like you're constantly picking on the heavy enchantress player, like, hey, your big 6 mana thing you have over there, sacrifice it or take 6, you know? But again, like I was saying, you want game pieces that do damage to your opponents during their turn. This is triggering on your end step. So also, we just now have seen in here, we've got new black cards that can deal with enchantments. So you don't even need this in here anymore. So goodbye. Out of here it goes. And that's what I've got for this deck. It is super cool. This deck is going to be something that you are either going to, on either end of it, of either playing it or playing against it, you're either going to love this or you're going to hate it. I don't think there's an in-between on this one. This is why they kind of make Rakdos decks nowadays for precons. They make them more like self-sacrifice theme and not group slug like this, because this is a very, very tough strategy to play correctly, effectively, and have fun with, or have everybody have fun with, you know? It's
Dude, you have to learn how to sandbag so much and just go like, this wrecks the game right now, but I'm going to immediately get turned around on. So you have to like learn how to sequence your plays in I'm just the innocuous Rakdos player. And then all of a sudden you're like, bam, you're going taking 16 damage to the face.
Exactly, yeah. So I think this is going to be a very cool pickup for anyone who has already been a sort of established, like they enjoy playing these kinds of group pain, or if you've never played a deck like this before, absolutely this one is a great starting point. You ever wanted, I mean, like I said, you get what is this here? 8 different legendary creatures out of this box, all of which are fantastic group slug commanders, Vile Smasher. You just straight up get Vile Smasher in here if you want to try to do that. But also, obviously, Valgavoth himself is very, very cool. The package you're getting here, the deck that you get, it's going to be tricky. You're either going to really, really want to upgrade this one and make it something that lasts long term, or you're going to buy this thinking it's cool, hate it, and never play it again.
Yep.
Honestly.
But it's got really good reprints in it.
It does. It's one of the best reprint values amongst the decks that are here, but it's just so strange that I don't think there's going to be a middle ground with this one. You're either going to love it or hate it, and that's a real tough sell.
I love this type of strategy, so I'm on team. You should get it and just play it and see what happens. Anything that is like, man, there is no decks that progress the game quite like Group Slug does, where it's like, we're kind of sitting in a board stall, but I'm still winning. Like, I'm still just doing damage as I'm a clock for the table. So I really like it and encourage you to play it. Take some time with it, but don't play it once and then get rid of it. Play it like 10 times and then decide where you sit with it, because it's going to play differently every single game.
Exactly. It really depends on like the kind of decks you go up against, what kind of pod you're playing at, how the cards that you draw during your turn, which ones are doing what damage effects, it's different every time, but be prepared for the repercussions back against your opponents for playing something like this.
100%.
But that's our big bad guys Rakdos deck.
Love that. That brings us to the end of our pre-con video, doesn't it?
I believe it does. We have powered our way through the scariest of haunted houses, all of these decks.
Did. This actually reminds me of, do you remember when we went to Nashville Nightmare? And it was 4 haunted houses directly into each other, and some of them were like kind of cute and some of them were really scary. That's what these 4 precons feel like.
Oh, that's what a good throwback.
Shout out Nashville Nightmare. That's not a sponsor of the video today.
But I think that does it then for us, Joseph. Yeah. So as a whole, you like these decks?
Yeah, I like them a lot. I think that they're like such a cool theme that they all feel like, I was even just looking through all the different art on this last one on the Endless Punishment deck, and it all just feels so cohesive. Like you have the thing that you're doing, and I really like it. I actually like one note on the Endless Punishment deck. I actually think I would want to play Lord of Pain over Valgavoth. I think that he fits what the deck is doing better, but they obviously had to put Valgavoth because he's the big bad of the set, and it's the arch enemy thing. Which we didn't talk about arch enemy, but we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, we have plans to do a extra game components episode one of these days, and the arch enemy rework is going to be a part of that.
I like it. Well, we've been yapping enough. Do you want to have any parting thoughts before we sign off?
No. I mean, I think like as potentially the last precons of this year, I think they're going out on a pretty high note, honestly. We've had a pretty good string of ones this year. We'll obviously be talking about them at some point later when we do the 2024 recap. But as potentially the last decks of this year, this is a great one rolling into the holiday season. I imagine lots of new players coming into this Halloween and then potentially the Christmas time. These are going to be some of the first decks that'll be available to them, and these are some pretty good includes to pick up. I think all the strategies they're doing, they have a cool synergy amongst themselves of what they're trying to do, and they fit the theme very, very well.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. And on that, I think it's about time for us to get moseying on out of here and go to bed, probably. We're recording this at night and it's getting pretty late. But
Let's go wrangle up our other survivors and bunker down for the night.
Exactly. Shout out to Jared for our intro outro music, and shout out Levi for doing all of our audio editing, and shout out to you guys for listening and making it this far. Thanks so much for being here. This has been the MTG Thoughtcast once again. We'll see you around.
Boo!
Very nice, John.